of the things that we're very passionate about at Rising Women, Rising World, but also, most importantly, at the FemQ Summit. And we talk about FemQ being feminine intelligence. And you've mentioned that a couple of times, the feminine, the home versus the institution, or the community versus the institution. What would you say in regards to feminine intelligence? Because we all know that men and women have this feminine intelligence.
Yeah.
How would you describe feminine intelligence?
So feminine and masculine are the two principles. They are present in women as well as in men. I would say that maybe in women, feminine principle is a little bit more than in men. And in men, maybe masculine principle is a little bit more than in women. Therefore, women need to pay attention and cultivate a little bit of more masculine side of themselves. And in a similar way, the men should take extra care and pay extra attention to cultivate their feminine side so that their personality is more balanced. So men and women both need to cultivate those other qualities. Particularly, I would say men and women both. Feminine should be slightly more than masculine, because feminine for me is kind of inner landscape, which is more implicit, much more a kind of present rather than explicit or outwardly. It's very easy to pay attention to the outwardly because we are always looking outwardly, and we relate to the world out there, and we forget that the inner world is as vast, as complex, as profound, as deep as outer world. Like you look at the ocean, from outside ocean looks vast, but if you go deep in the ocean, it's even vaster. So the feminine is that deep, profound inner landscape, inner world. And also receiving, from the Indian understanding, receiving is feminine, giving is masculine, the inner and the outer. So in our body, we have 2 ears to receive, to listen, and 1 mouth to speak. And that to me is a metaphor, as a kind of example that we need to have double listening and 1 part speaking. So I have created a kind of formula for men and women to remember as a kind of metaphor. Like in water, we say H2O, 2 part hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. In our personalities, we need to have F2M, which means 2 part feminine, 1 part masculine. Because receiving, taking care of inner world, which is compassion, generosity, a sense of service, love, respect, all these are inner qualities. External qualities are organizing, controlling, managing, defining, all those things are outer quality. We need both. We need masculine, we need feminine. But without the feminine, without those inner qualities of compassion, of generosity, of sense of service, a sense of respect and love, if those qualities are not there, how good your external organization and external management may be, it will not have the kind of soul, it will not have the kind of moisture, it will not have kind of sweetness, the kind of smoothness. It will be very kind of rugged, it will be very kind of harsh. So if you want to reduce your harshness, then you need to develop inner qualities. And the inner qualities need to be developed among men as well as women. It's not just for women or just for men. So rising feminine to me is rising of those inner qualities so that our external world of politics, of economics, of business, of management, of finance, all those can be informed by some profound and deep principles. That's to me, from my Indian learning and Indian experience, that to me is the balance of feminine and masculine. We need to have feminine and masculine dancing together. If you dominate by masculine and overpower the feminine, then there's no dance. In dance, you have to have a kind of equal partner. And so feminine and masculine dancing together and balancing each other among men and among women equally, that would be the ideal.
That's wonderful. And Satish, one of the things that I see, I spend a lot of time in the corporate environment. And one of the things that I now see is that women have adapted to that environment because it is governed by the masculine principles, structures and measurements. People are measured by their KPIs, people are measured by their accountabilities and their job contract. And very little attention is paid to this inner world of our self-awareness, of our intuition, of our deep wisdom. What I'm seeing happen is that now women who are intrinsically in their nature, they are receptive and they also give. What I'm seeing now is that the giving has exceeded the balancing of their inner work, and as a consequence many women are now leaving the corporate environment where their wisdom is so critical for the decisions that will shape and change and influence a positive change in the corporate. I'm just wondering what do you see is needed to reinstate or to awaken in the corporate environment the critical partnership that's needed for women to participate fully? What do you see?
In the corporate environment, women should go not to kind of copy the masculine way of doing business. Women, in my view, need to go in the business world and bring the feminine quality so that intuition is as important as rational argument, because the feelings are the kind of profound place in our life. If we don't have a right feeling, how a good rational decision might be, it will not be a right decision. So I hope that women will go in the corporate world and the business world not to compete with the masculine and just copy the masculine and behave like the masculine, but real feminism and the real feminine principle is to say that we want to be in the business world, but we want to run the business in a more balanced and harmonious way, where the masculine principles do play a part. We will organize things, we will manage something, but we will also have part of wisdom and intuition and a kind of inner values. So unless we do that, then just replacing men with women, but same structure, same kind of exploitation, same hierarchy, same kind of profit and ego, then what is difference between men running a business or women running a business?
Yes.
So the reason we want women in the business, in politics, in economics, in corporate world is because we want some different values. And those values will be brought by or can be brought by women who embrace their femininity and feminine principles and balance it with masculine and work together.
My focus, of course, is on human flourishing. One of the things that I know that Mother Nature knows and exhibits is no resistance to the seasons. And what I see in business, by contrast, is a resistance to the seasons that are cyclic, and we must pay attention to them. For example, Mother Nature gracefully lets go in winter, in autumn of the leaves, and then still is flourishing in winter because the seeds are germinating in the earth. But it's a graceful letting go, and the resilience is built out of the grace and the resilience. In corporate, by contrast, the corporate just wants continual springs and summers.
And always growing.
And always growing and always expanding. So I don't know that we're ever really going to change that notion of always growing. But what I'm wondering is what we can do to offer the corporates, the companies, the businesses that do want to grow, to be more open to this notion of seasons, that we need a winter in order to have a spring. So
now I think business have to be challenged, and this idea of linear growth, they're always growing, economic growth or whatever, getting bigger and bigger and bigger on a linear fashion. I think that is not sustainable ecologically or humanely. Therefore, we need to think of a cycle. When we talk about seasons, seasons have a cycle.
Exactly.
So winter and followed by spring, followed by summer, followed by autumn, and then winter again, and then spring again. So this cyclical way of nature also need to be in business. And business needs to be not linear growth, but more a cycle of life, cycle of time, cycle of business. And if you go in cyclical way, then economy will be cyclical, not economic growth in a linear way, but cyclical, by which, as in nature, there is no waste, there is no pollution. In your business, there will be no waste and no pollution. Business will be self-sustaining, self-managing, self-correcting, self-healing. And you grow in quality, not in quantity. You grow in giving your customers the better and better service. You make sure that all your staff, all your workers, all your colleagues, all your members of your business, they are all getting happier and joyful. So grow in quality rather than quantity, because quantitative growth can lead you to waste. Because if you have produced more than you can consume, and then you fill your cupboards with clothes and wardrobes with clothes and fridges with your food, and because you have to buy. If you don't buy, then business will go bankrupt or stop. And so this kind of consumerist economic growth and business growth cannot be sustained for a long time. And we need a corporate model of economy and a business model of economy such that economy can last not for 50 years or 100 years or 500 years, but for 5 million years or longer, forever. If you want economy which go forever and ever and ever, then you have to have a recycling and cyclical. So if you finish your oil, then what will happen? If you finish your coal, then what will happen? If you finish all the rainforests are gone, then what will happen? If you fish oceans in such a way that there's so much waste of fishing, what will happen? So we must not bring an end to our natural resources. In fact, we should not consider nature as a resource for the economy. We should consider nature as a source of life. Yes. And life should rule over economy. Economy does not mean finance. Economy does not mean money. Economy does not mean fiscal management. Economy is the management of the ecosphere. An ecosphere is a whole planet. The planet is our home. Ecos, the Greek word, means home. And nomos means management. So economy is the management of planet home, and management should be such that no resources are exhausted and depleted and polluted. So corporate world needs to reevaluate its values and see how they can create economy which is truly economy and not just finance and money and a profit, but economy in its true sense. And then it should work with ecology. Ecology means knowledge of the planet home. Logos means knowledge. So you need to know how all the species fit together. You need to know how rainforests and oceans and rivers and soil and everything work together, and a climate, how they fit together. If you don't know your home, how are you going to manage it? At the moment, all the economists study economy and not ecology. So ecology and economy studying together means you know what you are managing. Because if you manage something which you don't know, you will make a mess.
Yes, absolutely, like we do. And women manage their homes every day, and women manage their children's diets. And the metaphors and the analogies are very correlated.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So Satish, I'd also like to ask you about the notion of flourishing. Mm-hmm. And for me, I've been working in this area of well-being for many, many years, and I've seen especially over the last decade, there's so much science, research and also our wisdom and intuition that really reminds us and speaks to us of what it takes to flourish.
Yeah.
And there's many versions of that word now.
Yeah.
If I look into nature,
Yeah.
Mother Nature knows those cycles. Mother Nature flourishes every
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear your perspective on human flourishing
Yeah.
and why that's important.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we talked about economic growth. I would say we have to shift our focus from economic growth to growth in well-being. And when you have a growth in well-being rather than economic growth, you naturally have an outcome as a human flourishing. Human flourishing happens when there's a right relationship among men and women, right relationship among workers and bosses, right relationship between colleagues, and right relationship between humans and nature. And also right relationship with yourself. If you are not happy within, you won't be able to relate to other people happily. And if you are not happily relating to other people, you will not be able to relate to nature happily. So personal, social, and ecological, natural, these three dimensions have to come together in a good harmony in order to have human flourishing. Flourishing of our talent, flourishing of our imagination, flourishing of our relationships with each other and with ourselves. All these are the dimensions where flourishing plays a very important role. When you are able to help someone, you flourish. Mm-hmm. When you are able to love someone, you flourish. When you are able to feed the hungry, you flourish. Because you feel a sense of joy, you sense of fulfillment. Say, I have served, I have been useful to somebody. When you are able to create something, you are flourishing. If you write a beautiful poem, you say, beautiful words I have put together, I am happy. If you paint a beautiful picture, that's a flourishing. Say, you feel a sense of fulfillment. What a painting I'm engaged in, and colors and imagination and creativity all come together. That's a flourishing. So anything where you are able to either create, like a poem or a painting or architecture or a garden or a beautiful dish of food, something creativity, that brings flourishing. And also serving, caring for others, that brings flourishing. So even if you bring a cup of tea for your guest, or even if you make a meal for your mother or father or your wife or husband, you feel flourishing. And your children, you feel a sense of flourishing when you take care of somebody else. So these are the two aspects. One, being imaginative, creative, and making something imaginative and creative, a work of art. And work of art is not only painting, fine art, or poetry or dance. Work of art is anything you do with imagination and creativity, even a garden.
And our bodies can be that.
And bodies can be that, exactly. So flourishing at a creative level, personal level, and flourishing in relationship in helping others. Then you feel a sense of fulfillment and joy and happiness, and then money and other things are sort of icing on the cake. Yes. They add to your happiness, but the real happiness comes with your own imaginative, creative work and you helping somebody else.
Thank you, Satish. That reminds me also of Maslow's theory when he said our fullest potential is self-actualization.
Yes.
When we have our self-awareness and we contribute and know that our value and our purpose is expressed in the world. It's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.